When you fill in cost fields for work and material resources, Project uses them to calculate project costs. The labor cost for an assignment is the assigned work resources cost rate multiplied by the amount of time assigned. For material resources, the cost is the rate multiplied by the quantity assigned. So let's go to the resource sheet. On the View tab, click Resource Sheet. Now you can see that the Office Manager doesn't have a standard rate assigned, so we'll have to add one. Just click the standard rate cell, and if the Office Manager is $60 an hour, you can type 60 and press Enter. You can see that Project automatically adds the slash and the hour. But you can actually assign resources by other time periods. Let's say the webmaster is a contractor, and you actually pay her $1,000 a month to maintain the website. So in the standard rate cell, type 1,000, the slash, and then MON for month, and press Enter. And from now on, Project will use $1,000 a month to calculate how much the webmaster costs. For a material resource, like the cider down at the end, the standard rate is the cost per unit. So in this case, it's $55. The unit is in the material label field, and that's case. Well, let's see how this works. Go to the Task tab and click the Gantt chart button. I'm also going to display the Details pane, so I turn on the Details checkbox. I'm going to right-click this and choose Resources and Successors so we can see assignments, and scroll down to the bottom of the schedule and choose the Open House task. Here you see that the project manager is assigned to the open house for 8 hours. In addition, the cider is also assigned to the open house, and in this case, it's 5 cases. Let's say I want to make that 4 cases. In the work cell, type 4, and then when I click OK, just click Continue and OK. And now you can see that Project fills in the label, so the quantity changes, but Project takes the label from the resource sheet and fills this in. Let's look at how the costs work. So I right-click and choose Cost. Well, the project manager is assigned for 8 hours and costs $80 an hour, so the cost is $640. The cider costs $55 a case, and there are 4 cases assigned to this task, so the cost is $220. Let's go back to the resource sheet and take a look at some of the other cost fields. So first I'll turn off the Details pane and go back to the resource sheet. You can see that the next column after standard rate is the overtime rate. Overtime rate only applies to work resources because you assign them by time. And in fact, the only time you have to fill in the overtime rate is if somebody is paid extra when they work overtime hours. So for example, if somebody's paid $80 an hour, and it doesn't matter how many hours they work in a week, then the standard rate is enough because Project will multiply the standard rate by every single hour you assign, and you're all set. But if that resource charges extra for overtime, you'll have to designate overtime hours, and then Project will multiply those hours by the overtime rate. The next field is cost per use. Now that's something that occurs once every time you assign a resource to a task. So for example, with the dumpster, there's a $450 charge every time you bring the dumpster on site. Or maybe with the cider for the open house, there's a $150 setup charge for setting up the bar. So you type $150 in the cost per use cell. That way, when you assign cider to a task, in addition to the standard rate times the quantity of cases, you'll also have a $150 charge for the setup. The final cost field is accrue at. You can see that Project fills in prorated, and that means that the cost is spread over the duration of the task. But in some cases, you might want to have it at the beginning or the end. So for example, with airfare, you pay for that up front, so you can click the down arrow and choose Start. Or maybe for the webmaster is a contractor, so you pay the webmaster at the end. Click the down arrow in that cell and choose End. By filling in resource cost fields, you tell Project how much work and material resources cost. That way, the program can calculate costs when you assign these types of resources to tasks.